Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you once again, do you love yourself? And if the answer is not a strong yes yet, start today. Look at yourself with kindness, accept yourself with grace. Because the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. And trust me, when you love yourself, the world follows. Self-love is often misunderstood as vanity or self-obsession, but in reality, it is the foundation of a fulfilling and meaningful life. To truly love oneself means to acknowledge one's worth, independent of societal expectations or external validation. It is a journey of self-awareness, self-acceptance, and self-growth. Understanding self-love is crucial because without it, we often seek happiness and validation in places that cannot provide them. Many people spend their lives looking for approval from others, believing that their worth is determined by how much they are liked, appreciated, or admired. However, true self-love comes from within. It is an internal process that does not rely on external factors. To understand self-love, one must first acknowledge that they are not defined by their failures, flaws, or past mistakes. Too often, people attach their self-worth to achievements, relationships, or social recognition. While these aspects of life can bring joy, they are not the essence of who we are. If one's self-love is based on success, what happens when failure comes? If it is based on relationships, what happens when people leave? These external sources of validation are temporary and fragile, but self-love, when built from within, remains constant. Loving oneself is also about treating oneself with kindness and compassion. We often offer kindness to others, but forget to extend the same grace to ourselves. When a friend makes a mistake, we encourage them, reminding them that they are human. But when we make a mistake, we become our own worst critics, filling our minds with self-doubt and negative thoughts. True self-love means treating oneself like a friend, acknowledging mistakes, learning from them, and moving forward without self-hatred. Another essential aspect of self-love is setting boundaries. Many people struggle with this because they believe that saying no makes them selfish or unkind. However, respecting one's own needs and limits is an act of love. It is about recognizing that one's energy, time, and emotional well-being matter. When we fail to set boundaries, we often end up exhausted, frustrated, and even resentful. Self-love means understanding that it is okay to prioritize one's own well-being without feeling guilty. It means knowing that one does not have to please everyone to be worthy of love and respect. Society often conditions people to seek perfection, making them believe that they are not good enough as they are. Advertisements, social media, and cultural expectations create a false image of success, beauty, and happiness, leading people to compare themselves to unrealistic standards. This constant comparison erodes self-esteem and fuels feelings of inadequacy. But self-love means rejecting the need to be perfect. It means embracing one's uniqueness, flaws, and strengths. It means knowing that one does not need to look a certain way, achieve certain milestones, or fit into a predefined mold to be valuable. Understanding self-love also involves recognizing that growth is a part of life. Loving oneself does not mean avoiding change or improvement. Rather, it means striving for growth while still appreciating who one is in the present. Many people believe that they will love themselves once they achieve something, once they lose weight, once they get a promotion, once they find the right partner. But this mindset delays self-acceptance. One does not need to wait for a future version of themselves to start loving who they are today. Growth and self-love can coexist. One can work on becoming better while still appreciating their current self. Self-love also manifests in how one speaks to oneself. The inner dialogue that people have with themselves shapes their confidence and self-perception. If one constantly tells themselves that they are not good enough, smart enough, or attractive enough, they start believing it. Changing this dialogue is a crucial step in self-love. Instead of focusing on shortcomings, one should practice affirmations that reinforce their worth. Instead of saying, "I am not good at this," one can say, "I am learning and improving." Instead of saying, "I am not attractive," one can say, "I am unique and valuable as I am." The words one tells themselves matter because they shape their beliefs. And beliefs shape reality. Another powerful realization in understanding self-love is that it is not selfish. Many people hesitate to prioritize themselves because they fear being seen as self-centered. But self-love is not about neglecting others. It is about ensuring that one's own cup is full so that they can give to others without feeling depleted. When people love themselves, they become more compassionate, understanding, and giving. A person who values themselves is more capable of forming healthy relationships because they do not rely on others to fill a void within them. Self-love is also about letting go of the past. Many people hold on to guilt, regret, or pain, believing that they do not deserve happiness because of past mistakes or experiences. But carrying this burden only weighs them down. Loving oneself means making peace with the past and choosing to move forward. It means forgiving oneself for mistakes and understanding that growth comes from learning, not from self-punishment. Understanding self-love is about realizing that one's worth is not determined by achievements, appearance, or the opinions of others. It is about embracing imperfections, treating oneself with kindness, setting boundaries, and choosing growth without waiting for a future version of oneself. It is about speaking to oneself with compassion, rejecting unrealistic societal standards, and recognizing that self-love is not selfish, but necessary. When one truly understands self-love, they stop seeking validation from the outside world and find fulfillment within themselves. And when that happens, life becomes a journey of confidence, peace, and purpose. Perfection is a concept that many people chase, yet it remains forever out of reach. Society often conditions us to believe that to be successful, happy, or even loved, we must meet certain standards: flawless appearance, exceptional achievements, or an ideal personality. However, the reality is that no one is perfect, and the pursuit of perfection often leads to self-doubt, anxiety, and a constant feeling of inadequacy. True self-love begins when we embrace our imperfections, understanding that they are not weaknesses, but rather the very aspects that make us unique and human. People are taught to strive for excellence, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Growth and improvement are important. However, the problem arises when we start believing that we are unworthy unless we reach a certain level of flawlessness. This mindset creates an internal struggle where people become their own harshest critics, constantly judging themselves for not being good enough. The irony is that even when they achieve their goals, the feeling of inadequacy does not disappear. Instead, new expectations take their place, and the cycle of self-criticism continues. Embracing imperfections means acknowledging that flaws are a natural part of life. No one has a life free of struggles, insecurities, or mistakes. Even the most successful and admired individuals have faced failures, doubts, and hardships. Yet, what sets them apart is not that they were perfect, but that they learned to accept and even celebrate their imperfections. They understood that imperfections do not diminish their value, but instead add depth to their character. Many people allow their imperfections to define them negatively. They believe that because they have made mistakes, they are failures. They think that because they have scars, they're not beautiful. They assume that because they struggle with certain aspects of life, they are not capable. But in reality, imperfections are not limitations, they are opportunities. Every flaw, every mistake, and every hardship teaches something valuable. Instead of resisting imperfections, we should see them as lessons that shape our journey. One of the biggest obstacles to embracing imperfections is comparison. With social media, it has become easier than ever to compare our lives to the carefully curated highlights of others. We see people with perfect bodies, luxurious lifestyles, and seemingly effortless success, and we start believing that we are falling behind. But what we fail to see is the full picture. Behind every perfect image, there is a struggle, a story, and countless unseen failures. The problem is not that others are perfect. It is that we assume they are, while ignoring our own journey. Instead of comparing, we should focus on our own progress and appreciate where we are. Self-love means looking in the mirror and appreciating what we see, not because it meets society's standards, but because it is ours. It means recognizing that beauty is not defined by flawless skin or a perfect physique, but by confidence, kindness, and authenticity. It means accepting that mistakes do not make us failures, but rather individuals who are learning and evolving. The moment we stop fighting our imperfections and start embracing them, we free ourselves from unnecessary pressure and self-doubt. Resisting imperfections often leads to fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, and fear of judgment. This fear holds people back from trying new things, pursuing their dreams, or even being themselves. But what if we changed our perspective? What if we saw failure as a stepping stone rather than an endpoint? What if we understood that rejection does not mean we are unworthy, but that we are simply being redirected? What if we realize that people's judgments do not define us, but our own self-perception does? When we embrace our imperfections, we remove the power that fear has over us. We start living with courage rather than hesitation. It is also important to remember that embracing imperfections is not about ignoring growth. It does not mean settling for less or refusing to improve. Rather, it means understanding that growth comes from a place of self-acceptance, not self-rejection. When people try to improve themselves because they think they are not good enough, they often feel frustrated and discouraged. But when they pursue growth with the mindset that they are already valuable as they are, the process becomes fulfilling rather than exhausting. One of the most powerful transformations occurs when we stop hiding our imperfections and start owning them. Many people spend their lives trying to conceal their weaknesses, afraid that others will judge them. But the truth is, authenticity is far more attractive than perfection. When we are honest about who we are, we not only gain self-respect, but also inspire others to do the same. People connect with realness, not with unrealistic portrayals of flawlessness. The moment we accept ourselves, we give others permission to accept themselves too. Embracing imperfections is an act of self-love and liberation. It allows us to step out of the unrealistic standards imposed by society and into a space where we are free to be ourselves. It teaches us that we do not need to be perfect to be happy, successful, or loved. It reminds us that our flaws, struggles, and mistakes do not make us less, they make us whole. When we embrace our imperfections, we stop chasing an illusion and start living in authenticity, confidence, and peace. Society has always played a significant role in shaping how people perceive themselves. From childhood, individuals are conditioned to believe that their worth is tied to meeting societal standards. These standards dictate how they should look, behave, and even define success and happiness. As a result, many people spend their lives trying to fit into molds that were never meant for them, believing that they must conform in order to be accepted. However, the truth is that real happiness comes from breaking free from these unrealistic expectations and defining one's own worth. When people stop seeking validation from society and start valuing themselves for who they truly are, they unlock the freedom to live authentically. One of the most common societal standards that people struggle with is beauty. Magazines, advertisements, and social media platforms continuously promote a narrow definition of beauty: flawless skin, a perfect body, and a certain style. Those who do not fit into this ideal often feel inadequate, as if they are less valuable. However, the concept of beauty is not universal. It is shaped by trends that change over time. What is considered beautiful today may not be the same tomorrow. If beauty is constantly changing, then how can it be the basis of one's self-worth? The moment a person realizes that their value does not depend on external appearance, they begin to embrace their uniqueness instead of trying to alter themselves to fit an unrealistic standard. True beauty lies in confidence, self-acceptance, and the ability to be unapologetically oneself. Another major societal pressure revolves around success. Many people are taught that success is measured by wealth, status, and achievements. They believe that in order to be respected, they must follow a predetermined path, get a prestigious job, earn a high income, and achieve material success. While ambition and hard work are important, tying self-worth to external achievements is dangerous. If a person only feels valuable when they succeed, they will struggle with self-doubt whenever they face setbacks or failures. But failures are inevitable, they are a natural part of growth. A person who truly values themselves understands that their worth is not determined by job titles, salary figures, or recognition from others. Instead, success should be defined individually. Perhaps for one person, success means financial stability, but for another, it means personal fulfillment, creativity, or making a difference in the lives of others. When people break free from society's rigid definition of success, they can create a life that is meaningful to them rather than chasing an illusion of happiness. Relationships are another area where societal expectations often dictate a person's self-worth. There is a belief that a person must be in a relationship, get married at a certain age, or have a perfect family to be seen as complete. Those who do not meet these expectations may feel pressure, questioning whether something is wrong with them. However, love and relationships should never be about meeting societal timelines or proving one's worth. A person's value is not determined by whether they are single or married, have children or not. True love, whether romantic, familial, or friendship-based, comes when people embrace themselves fully and connect with others without the need for validation. A person who knows their own worth does not stay in unhealthy relationships out of fear of being alone. Instead, they choose relationships that bring mutual respect, growth, and happiness. One of the most harmful aspects of societal expectations is the idea that people should always seek approval from others. Many people are afraid to express their true thoughts, follow their passions, or live according to their values because they worry about what others will say. This fear of judgment keeps them trapped in lives that do not truly fulfill them. But the reality is, no matter what a person does, there will always be opinions, criticisms, and expectations. Trying to please everyone is an impossible task, and in the process, one loses themselves. The key to true happiness is understanding that external validation is fleeting, but self-acceptance lasts a lifetime. When people stop worrying about the opinions of others and start focusing on what truly matters to them, they begin to live with confidence and freedom. Breaking free from societal expectations does not mean rejecting society altogether. Rather, it means making conscious choices about what to accept and what to let go of. It means questioning whether certain beliefs truly align with one's personal values or whether they are simply adopted out of habit. It means having the courage to say no to things that do not serve one's happiness, even if they are considered normal by society's standards. Most importantly, it means embracing the idea that every person has the right to define their own identity, purpose, and success. When a person finally stops trying to fit into a mold and starts living authentically, they experience true freedom. They no longer feel the need to compare themselves to others, prove their worth, or seek approval. Instead, they wake up every day knowing that they are enough as they are. They make choices based on their own desires, not out of fear of judgment. They surround themselves with people who appreciate them for who they truly are. And most importantly, they find happiness, not in meeting societal expectations, but in embracing their own journey fully and unapologetically. Life is unpredictable. It is filled with moments of joy, success, and love, but also pain, failure, and disappointment. Many people believe that loving themselves should be easy when things are going well, but what happens when life takes an unexpected turn? When dreams are shattered, when struggles seem endless, or when pain feels unbearable? This is where resilience comes in. Resilience is the ability to rise above challenges, to stand tall even in the face of adversity, and to keep moving forward despite the difficulties. True self-love is not about feeling good only when life is perfect. It is about loving oneself even in the hardest moments. Knowing that struggles do not define a person, but shape them into someone stronger. Resilience begins with perspective. When hardships come, many people immediately assume that they are failures, that they are not good enough, or that life is unfair to them. This kind of thinking only makes challenges feel heavier. But what if struggles were not seen as punishments, but as opportunities for growth? Every setback carries a lesson. Every failure brings wisdom. Every painful experience, no matter how difficult, has the potential to shape a person into someone wiser, braver, and more compassionate. The most resilient individuals are not those who never fall, but those who get back up every single time. They understand that hardships are temporary, but the strength gained from overcoming them lasts a lifetime. One of the hardest aspects of resilience is facing failure. Society often teaches people to fear failure, making them believe that it is something to be ashamed of. But failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the journey towards success. Every successful person in history has faced failure, some of them countless times. But what made them different was their refusal to give up. Instead of seeing failure as proof of inadequacy, they saw it as a stepping stone. They learned from their mistakes, adjusted their paths, and kept going. Loving oneself means forgiving oneself for failures, learning from them, and moving forward with even more determination. Pain is another challenge that tests resilience. Whether it comes from personal loss, heartbreak, or struggles with self-worth, pain can feel overwhelming. It can make people question their value, their purpose, and even their ability to keep going. But pain is also a teacher. It reveals strength that people did not know they had. It forces them to grow in ways they never expected. Resilient people do not ignore their pain or pretend it does not exist. Instead, they acknowledge it, process it, and allow it to shape them into someone even stronger. Pain does not make a person weak. It proves their ability to endure, to heal, and to rise again. Resilience also means letting go of the need for external validation. Many people tie their self-worth to how others see them, whether they are praised, loved, or admired. But when challenges arise, when mistakes are made, or when people turn away, this kind of validation disappears. If self-worth is dependent on the opinions of others, then it will always be fragile. True self-love is built from within. It is about knowing one's own worth, even when no one else is there to validate it. It is about looking in the mirror and saying, I am enough, even on the hardest days. Another key part of resilience is self-compassion. Many people are quick to offer kindness and understanding to others, but are incredibly harsh on themselves. When they fail, they criticize themselves. When they struggle, they tell themselves they are not strong enough. But if they treated a friend this way, the friendship would not last. Resilient people understand that self-love means being kind to oneself, especially in difficult moments. It means allowing space for mistakes, for healing, and for growth without self-judgment. Just as a broken bone heals stronger, a person who has been through challenges and shown themselves kindness comes out even more resilient. Resilience is also about choosing to move forward. Some people let hardships define them, holding on to pain for years, unable to let go of past mistakes or difficult experiences. While pain is a natural part of life, dwelling in it prevents growth. Resilient people acknowledge their struggles, but they do not let them become their entire identity. They take control of their story, choosing to focus on the lessons learned rather than the pain endured. They remind themselves that no matter how difficult the past has been, the future still holds endless possibilities. The most beautiful thing about resilience is that it is not something a person is born with. It is something that is built over time. Every challenge faced, every setback overcome, and every moment of self-love in hard times strengthens resilience. It is a muscle that grows with each experience. And with resilience comes freedom. The freedom to live without fear of failure, without fear of judgment, and without fear of hardship. Because no matter what happens, a resilient person knows they will rise again. Self-love is not tested in easy times. It is tested in the hardest moments. It is easy to love oneself when everything is going well, but true self-love is proven when life is difficult. It is about looking at oneself even in moments of struggle and saying, I am worthy. I am strong. I will keep going. That is the power of resilience, and that is the essence of self-love. Many people spend their lives seeking love from others, waiting for someone to appreciate them, admire them, or make them feel whole. They believe that love from family, friends, or a romantic partner will finally make them feel valuable. While human connections are important and bring joy, they should never be the foundation of self-worth. Relying on external love to feel complete is like building a house on unstable ground. The moment that love is taken away or changes, the foundation crumbles. True self-love is about finding completeness within, understanding that happiness and fulfillment come from within rather than from external validation. When people tie their self-worth to external relationships, they often feel anxious, insecure, or even desperate to hold on to love. They fear rejection, they change themselves to fit others' expectations, and they tolerate unhealthy relationships just to avoid being alone. But love, when sought from an external source, is always unpredictable. People change, relationships evolve. Some people stay, and others leave. If a person's sense of worth depends on being loved by others, then they will always be vulnerable to losing it. But when they find love within themselves, their confidence becomes unshakable. No matter who stays or who leaves, they remain whole. Self-love is not about being selfish or rejecting the love of others. It is about recognizing that no external relationship can replace the relationship one has with oneself. It is about treating oneself with kindness, respect, and patience. Just as people put effort into nurturing relationships with others, they must also invest in their relationship with themselves. This means speaking kindly to oneself, prioritizing personal happiness, and refusing to settle for anything less than what truly aligns with one's values and well-being. One of the most powerful realizations is that a person is already complete on their own. They do not need to be in a relationship to be worthy. They do not need constant validation from friends or family to be important. They do not need approval from society to feel valuable. Many people spend years trying to prove themselves to others, hoping that if they're successful enough, attractive enough, or pleasing enough, they will finally be loved. But the truth is, love that is conditional, love that depends on meeting certain expectations, is not real love. The purest form of love comes from within. When a person accepts themselves fully, flaws and all. When people learn to love themselves, they stop seeking love in places that do not honor them. They stop tolerating toxic relationships where they are not valued or respected. They stop chasing people who do not see their worth. They stop bending and breaking just to fit into someone else's version of who they should be. Instead, they become selective about who they allow into their lives, choosing relationships that are based on mutual respect, appreciation, and genuine connection. When a person truly loves themselves, they attract the right kind of love. Love that is deep, respectful, and enriching. A common mistake people make is believing that loneliness means they are incomplete. Society often portrays being single or alone as something undesirable, as if a person's value is determined by their relationship status. But there is a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. A person who has learned to love themselves can be alone without feeling lonely because they have found contentment within themselves. They enjoy their own company, pursue their own passions, and live life on their own terms. They understand that their happiness does not depend on someone else filling a void, but rather on their own ability to find joy within. Loving oneself also means embracing personal growth. It means recognizing that happiness is not found in external validation, but in continuous self-improvement. It means setting goals not to impress others, but to fulfill personal dreams. It means taking care of one's mind, body, and soul, not for approval, but because one deserves to feel good. When people stop looking outward for love and start looking inward, they discover a source of happiness that is permanent, unshakable, and deeply fulfilling. The moment a person realizes that they are already whole, everything changes. They stop searching for completion in another person. They stop seeking validation in the opinions of others. They stop waiting for love to come from an external source and start giving themselves the love they have always deserved. They become independent, emotionally strong, and confident. And ironically, the moment they stop needing love from others to feel, they begin to attract genuine love because people are naturally drawn to those who are whole within themselves. No external love will ever replace self-love. People may come and go, but the relationship one has with oneself lasts a lifetime. Choosing to love oneself is not a temporary act, it is a lifelong commitment. It is about waking up every day and deciding no matter what happens to treat oneself with kindness, patience, and respect. It is about knowing deep down that completeness was never something to be found outside, it was always within. Many people go through life waiting for the perfect moment to start loving themselves. They tell themselves, I will be happy when I lose weight. I will feel worthy when I achieve success, or I will love myself when others love me. But this mindset keeps them trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and dissatisfaction. But the truth is, there is no perfect time to start loving yourself. Self-love is not a destination, but a journey that begins now, in this very moment. No external achievement, validation, or transformation can make a person worthy. They are already enough just as they are. The key is to stop postponing self-acceptance and start embracing it today. Waiting for the right moment to love oneself often stems from the belief that one is not good enough yet. People compare themselves to others, measuring their worth based on societal standards, social media images, or unrealistic expectations. They look at those who seem successful, confident, and happy, and they think, once I get there, I will be able to love myself too. But the reality is, even the most accomplished people still struggle with self-doubt. No matter how much a person achieves, there will always be another goal, another challenge, another reason to feel like they are not enough. If self-love is always tied to future conditions, it will never truly be attained. One of the biggest barriers to self-love is the idea that perfection must be reached before one is worthy. Many people think that in order to be lovable, they must be flawless. They must look a certain way, have no insecurities, and never make mistakes. But perfection is an illusion. No one is perfect and no one ever will be. True self-love does not come from achieving perfection. It comes from embracing imperfection. It is about looking at oneself with all the flaws, scars, and struggles and saying, I am still worthy. I am still enough. The moment a person stops chasing perfection and starts accepting themselves as they are, they unlock the freedom to truly love themselves. Another common mistake is believing that self-love will come once others start recognizing one's worth. People seek validation from family, friends, and society, thinking that if they receive enough praise, approval, or admiration, they will finally feel good about themselves. But external validation is temporary, it comes and goes, and relying on it is dangerous. If self-worth is based on how others see a person, then it will always be fragile. The only validation that truly matters is the one that comes from within. When a person learns to recognize their own worth without needing anyone else's approval, they become unshakable. Self-love also requires letting go of the past. Many people carry the weight of past mistakes, failures, and regrets, believing that they are unworthy because of them. They replay their past over and over, convincing themselves that they are not good enough. But mistakes do not define a person. How they grow from them does. Holding on to guilt and self-judgment only prevents healing. The past cannot be changed, but the present can be. Choosing to love oneself today means making peace with the past, forgiving oneself, and moving forward with kindness and compassion. Another powerful step in self-love is learning to appreciate the present. Too often, people focus on what they lack rather than what they have. They look at what is missing in their lives rather than recognizing their strengths, achievements, and the beauty within them. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for self-love. When a person starts appreciating themselves, their talents, their uniqueness, their growth, they begin to see how valuable they truly are. Instead of focusing on what they have not yet accomplished, they celebrate how far they have come. The most important realization in the journey of self-love is understanding that it is a daily practice. It is not something that happens once and lasts forever. It is a choice made every single day to speak kindly to oneself, to forgive oneself, to stand up for oneself, and to believe in oneself. Some days will be easier than others, but even on the hardest days, self-love is about showing up for oneself with patience and understanding. The time to love oneself is not tomorrow, not when a goal is reached, not when someone else approves. It is now. It is in this very moment, exactly as one is. There will never be a perfect time because the present is all that truly exists. Choosing to love oneself today means stepping into a life of confidence, happiness, and fulfillment. It means realizing that worth was never something to be earned, it was always there. And once a person embraces that, they become truly free. Self-love is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is not something to be earned or proven, it is something to be embraced. Life will always bring challenges, failures, and moments of doubt, but true strength lies in choosing to love oneself despite them. It is about standing tall in the face of adversity, finding worth from within, and knowing that completeness was never something external. It was always within. The journey of self-love is not about achieving perfection or waiting for the right moment. It is about accepting oneself, flaws and all, in the present. It is about understanding that struggles do not define a person, but shape them into someone stronger. It is about realizing that love from others is meaningful, but it is never a replacement for the love one must have for themselves. Every individual is worthy not because of their achievements, their appearance, or their approval from others, but simply because they exist. And the moment they stop seeking validation from the outside and start embracing their own worth, they step into a life of confidence, fulfillment, and true happiness. Love yourself, not tomorrow, not when things are perfect, but now. Because you are enough. You always have been, and you always will be.